welcome everyone. We are so excited that you guys have joined us on the show today. I am super grateful that Miss Michellea Millis Rucker is here with us today to share her K-12 story, her K-12 journey. Michellea, can you please tell our viewers and our listeners what's going on in your life and in your K-12 career right now?
Yes, so I am a 20 plus year educator. I stopped counting at year 20 because I think that this just speaks volumes to the work that you're doing. When I actually just left the classroom this past February to embark upon doing transformational leadership coaching in my own business called Transforming Our Practice with school leaders, teachers, and staff. And so that's sort of what's going on. And I'm also pursuing my Ed.D in leadership so that I can also bring all that expertise into the field.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about your new job? That sounds really exciting.
Yeah, so Transforming Our Practice is sort of, I've had it since 2012, but because I was still working full time in schools, I was just doing sort of, contracts here and there.
Okay.
A full steam ahead to be able to do that work in schools with school leaders, to be able to tap into their hidden potential through leadership coaching to take them to the next level in their educational journey.
That's awesome. So what made you get into K-12 education? What has that always been your path, or is this a second career? How did that happen?
Yeah, good question, Dr. Williams. So actually, I had 10 years in nonprofit administration before I went in education. I worked for some huge nonprofits, United Way, United Negro College Fund, to name a few. Wow. And then 9/11 happened because I'm actually originally from the New Jersey, New York area. Okay. When 9/11 happened, I was working for a huge nonprofit, the National Association of Drug Addicted Persons, where I was the director. And they gave us severance packages because nobody knew, post 9/11, what are we doing right now? New York was in a state of chaos and confusion. And then I was at home, single mom with two daughters, no longer receiving this six-figure salary, and I didn't know what to do because nonprofit world was sort of in a state of pause. A friend of mine said, why don't you go sub for school? And I was like, okay, I'll do it for a minute until things get back to normal. Yeah. And actually was really blessed to be able to go sub for the district that I graduated from.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I had a leg up. And when I was a permanent science sub for high school, and this class had, I think I was their 12th teacher already in December. So mind you, there was a lot of chaos, and I just started to work on classroom management and discipline. And I remember saying to a female student when she was misbehaving, I said, do I have to call Judy? And she said, Judy, you know my mom? I said, I probably graduated from high school with her. And so that sort of gave me some I had been in their shoes. I was from the community. They could see that I was there because I cared about them. And from that, I grew to love teaching and been in it ever since.
Wow, that's amazing. So that was in the New York, New Jersey area, but now you're in Houston, Texas. How did that happen?
So I'm actually in New Berlin, Texas, which is about an hour out of San Antonio.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, no worries. So I've been in San Antonio for about 12 years, but I recently got married about a year and a half ago. And my husband had a country home and moved out here. How it happened is I have pretty much had been teaching and been a school leader in several states. So Florida, New York, New Jersey, Louisiana. And so a girlfriend of mine was living in Texas, and she said, it's beautiful out here. I was getting tired of the snow, high cost of living. I had planned on retiring, but I was nowhere near retiring like I'm not now. Yeah. But it was during the recession in New Jersey and New York around 2010. I came out to Texas on a whim, and within 30 days, I had a position working in a charter school, which that was my first experience working with charter schools, because coming from the East Coast, I had only worked in huge public schools, including one of the largest urban districts in Florida, Duval County School District. So my path has taken me a lot of different places, but always with the same vision in mind, which is basically working in urban schools with kids that look like me.
100%. So you brought up the whole charter school movement. And as you know, it's bigger in some states than it is in others. What would you say the biggest difference is between a urban charter school and an urban public school that
Mm.
is run by the district?
Yeah. So what I found in my 10 plus years working in charter schools is that as an administrator, I had a lot more autonomy to make decisions about what was best for my staff and what was best for my students based on the community needs also. When I worked in a urban public school, there's a lot of red tape, bureaucracy. Sometimes you have to go through many years to get something to be recognized or to be told that it's okay to do. Whereas in my charter school leadership experience, I did not have to do that. I was really given carte blanche to be able to do what was necessary to make sure that I had high teacher effectiveness and student achievement.
Awesome. So you had also mentioned that you are going to be, or you're working on your doctorate degree right now, and you should be finished with that by 2024. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, so it actually started before this time. I've been all but dissertation for almost 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I got my master's in 2001, and then in 2003, I started on my doctoral path at that time, but I actually ran out of money, loan money, and I was a single parent with two daughters, and there was no way I could afford to pay out of pocket. So I waited some time. Then in 2001, I returned back because I was in a financial position. My daughters are grown and out the house to be able to pay out of pocket. Then I had a death of a fiance at that time, and I needed time to heal before you could put into that work. And then I started back. And when I started back this time, I just had it in my mind that I'm going to finish this. And one of the things that I did, Dr. Williams, is I actually have my license plates that say Dr. Ruck on it already,
Awesome.
as a constant reminder, like you can do this and finish. And so the journey has been hard in a sense of timing and just understanding and navigating through the loan process. Had I known back then, I would have tried to find a different way to do it. But I think timing is everything, and this is the right time for me to be finishing it.
That's awesome. So you'll be finished in 2024 May? Is that May of 2024?
They say June because graduation happens in July, and I expect to walk the stage to be hooded. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I've already talked to my family, told them to put the date on their calendar. I've already made a list of family members to come out. I don't know how many they're going to allow us to come, but if they can't be there in the actual auditorium, we can all meet together afterwards and have a celebratory meal. But yeah, I've already put it on there because it's going to be monumental and something that has plagued me to finish, because as you know, in the education world, it's not necessary to have a doctoral degree.
No.
Right. And I've done pretty much everything you could think of in every role in education except be a superintendent. And that was only because when I got to that part in my career after having been a district administrator, I really liked working at the school level. I thought it was a lot of meetings, at least in my experience, and that for me wasn't. So I didn't need the doctorate for that. But for me, I really like the opportunity, one, to be able to be in this minute group of folks of color who have a doctoral degree. And secondly, to be able to be a role model to other young women who look like me of color to say, if I can do it, you can do it.
I love that. I love that. So you don't see yourself being a superintendent one day?
It's funny that you mentioned, because I'm now starting to think about it. I think at that time I wasn't ready because of what I saw, which was I was part of the superintendent's cabinet being a district administrator, and it was a lot of meetings. But I think that I'm now in a maturity where I can balance the meetings, but also be able to say I am a superintendent who actually goes into schools, walks around, gets involved, really knows what's going on with my staff, my community, my board members. I just think at that time I needed that maturation. I think that this is the time now to possibly pursue that after I get my doctorate.
I love it. Yeah. Well, not if, I'm just going to speak it into existence. When that happens, we would love for Superintendent Dr. Michellea Millis Rucker to come on the My K12 Career Show.
I would love to do it, because then I will be able to speak to a new experience, because I've not been in those shoes to actually think about and talk to other folks about what the role really is and what you can make it.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned a few times so far in this interview wanting to make an impact on young women that look like yourself. How important is that to you?
It's critically important because in my 20 plus years as an educator, I can remember when my first, not teaching assignment, because I felt really supported there, but my first administrative assignment, which really started in the summer as a summer principal. I was a beloved teacher because I did, in my first year as a teacher, I signed up for every program, the clubs, I mentored with other teachers. So they knew me and they loved me. But when I transitioned into administration, it seemed the tables turned and I was looked at differently, but I was not given the support that I needed to be as successful as I could be. My first year as a summer principal, I did have a strong principal who supported me, but then the following year, he actually left and I was instantly promoted and I felt really lost. And it was mainly because there was no support. It was just, hey, you've been assistant principal, so you're next in line. Are you willing to do it? Of course I was. This was first of all, the district I graduated from. I know the parents were actually telling me, we are counting on you. But I have to be honest with you, I was really green in a sense that my principal, was very strong in his skill set. And I was still learning as a first year administrator. And so it's important for me to be able to have those who are looking to go in administration or even an education field, period, to know that through coaching, mentoring, and other support, that you can be successful in this field, especially today, as you're very well maybe versed, Dr. Williams, we have a mass exodus in the field of education. And the number one reason is because they don't feel supported with everything that's loaded on them. And so I want to be able to say, especially in the neediest schools, urban, charter, and public schools, we need folks to be able to step up to the plate. Like I feel like myself, to say, I'm here to serve you so that you can still do this job without all those other things tangling on you and give you the support you need to do it successfully.
That's awesome. Well, you don't know what the future holds, but, as a matter of fact, there's a funny saying out there that says, if you want to make God smile, tell him your plans, because he might have other plans for you. But if I didn't see you for the next, 5 years, where would Dr. Michellea Millis Rucker be 5 years from now?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking me that question, because you're right. I do no longer sort of pitch my tent and say, this is what I want to do. I kind of let God lead me into that. But I feel like God has been leading me into really partnering with schools who need, and it's a person with my experience and expertise, to infuse them with strategies that support our educators. That is a huge gap right now. And I think that we are spinning our wheels. And when I say we as educators, I still include myself in that. As far as old practices, we are in a new normal of education, and we need to lean into that with a smile. That means it's a world of opportunity of what that could look like. And I'd like to be a thought partner with those schools to be able to move forward and, make these new innovative ways of how we can make leaders feel loved, supported, empowered to do their work for those students they serve and love.
Love it. Well, I'm going to just speak it into existence. Dr. Michellea Millis Rucker, I want to thank you so much for coming on the My K12 Career Show and just sharing your current K12 journey with our viewers and our listeners. But before you leave, could you please give our listeners and viewers some parting words of wisdom? Tell us how we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, sure. So my parting words of wisdom are, when you are in education, you're going to get flooded with a lot of people who are coming from their vantage point, their experience. You have to carve your own path. For example, for me, I was told to go in administration and stay there and actually just keep moving, because I was actually moving pretty fast. In the midst of it, every year I was getting promoted. That's a great thing, but Also, that wasn't necessarily the right path for me because it was
Sure.
being told by other people. Carve your path. That's the words of wisdom, whether it's staying a teacher for 20 years, whether it's being an administrator and coming back, which I did. I was a district administrator, almost a superintendent. I came back to the classroom to be an instructional coach. There's no wrong way, but you have to carve that. And then if you'd like to reach me, you can find me on LinkedIn through Michellea Millis Rucker. And you can also find me through my website, transformingourpractice.com. I'd love to hear from the education community. Always looking for folks to partner and ally with.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I can see that there's greatness within you, and I'm just excited to see what the future holds for you. So we'll definitely have you come back on the show, especially once you get that doctorate. We would love to celebrate with you on that momentous achievement once you achieve that. So again, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank you.